Okay, hello, welcome everyone to the Single Lady Estates, uh, our second annual Equal Credit Opportunity Act anniversary panel. My name is Bobby Wasserman, and I'm the founder of Single Lady Estates. We are on a mission to empower women's entire home ownership journey, buying, selling, and life in between. So thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us, celebrating an anniversary that today very few remember, yet it has an incredibly positive impact on all our lives each and every day. So today we take the ECOA for granted when in fact this was a groundbreaking moment for women. By removing the gender bias in credit allocation, the ECOA has played a critical role in empowering women financially. Now, women obtain credit cards, mortgages, and loans in their own name, which has paved the way for their financial autonomy. Remember, the ECOA is only 49 years old. And as a child, I still remember my mother's credit cards had my father's name on them. The ECOA, wait a second. The ECOA has really shifted our societal norms. It's allowed more women to pursue higher education, own properties, start businesses, and make significant economic decisions independently. This has provided women with the resources and opportunities necessary to build and control their financial destinies, whether they choose to marry, have children, or forge a unique path of their own. It has impacted every generation, and the confidence mothers have given their daughters, the daughters give right back. Truly together, women are an intergenerational economic powerhouse. So Congresswoman Katie Porter had a last minute issue and gives everyone her deepest regrets. However, we have Nora Guerra from Freddie Mac, and she is going to give a short presentation on home ownership trends and gender data from a new study that Freddie Mac has just released. So let me introduce Nora. Nora Guerra serves as the National Affordable Lending Senior Manager at Freddie Mac. Wait a second.
Oh, did I take your? Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm going to introduce you. That's okay. Let me do this. Okay. So Nora Guerra serves as the National Affordable Lending Senior Manager at Freddie Mac, leading efforts for responsible lending and sustainable home ownership. With over 25 years in the mortgage industry, she joined Freddie Mac in 2019, advocating for financial accessibility in multicultural and low-income segments. Her dedication earned her the Latino Leadership Award in 2023. And through market analysis, she helps shape strategic directions to support Freddie Mac's mission in the residential mortgage sector. So take it away, Nora.
Thank you so much, Bobby. So sorry about that. Here, I stole your thunder by unfortunately trying to share this presentation. So while I pull this presentation up correctly and effectively now, what I will talk about is Freddie Mac's presentation. So today we're going to discuss homeownership trends and women gender data. Now, this is a really fantastic study that Freddie Mac put together. And when we talk about that buyer of the future, definitely cognizant of women being able to have homeownership opportunities. But let's talk about that buyer of the future. And I know in our audience, you probably have industry professionals that really want to help this demographic. We have potential first-time home buyers, or we have support systems out there like housing counselors and other housing industry professionals. So we'll talk about some migration. So this first-time home buyer is definitely migrating, and they're migrating two ways. One of them is inbound, outbound state. Now, I know this is a national webinar, so let's talk about where are they migrating. So we do have historically, these millennials go to coastal areas for jobs and for universities. However, affordability is chasing them and they're migrating inward. So, interesting fact, Now, when it comes to a second migration, it's out of urban, out of suburban, and into rural. So I love the fact that these potential first-time home buyers kind of got smart on us in the housing industry. And it has to do with COVID and with remote work. We're seeing a lot of these millennials, definitely potential first-time home buyers, love the remote work environment and are definitely looking to migrate. And a lot of them are remote employees. With that, let's talk about the higher share of first-time home buyer affordable MSAs. Now, these MSAs are locations across the country, and I'm showing you the top 20. Interesting fact, Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Phoenix, Arizona, we've got Minnesota, we've got Denver, Colorado. Now, I know there may be a larger California audience, so I definitely want to talk about Riverside, California. There's a second California location. Interesting fact, San Diego, California. Now, most of you are probably saying, Nora, absolutely not affordable. Agree. However, there's a migration that's happening within San Diego, out of urban, out of suburban, and into rural. So they're migrating out of San Diego and going to National City, going to these other outside cities of San Diego. Still a very hot MSA, hot market for potential first-time home buyers. Now, let's talk about women and how fantastic they are. So women are the second largest buying demographic in our housing industry. They're actually purchasing at 17% versus men, single men at 9%. And this is attributed to they are getting learning degrees, higher learning degrees at a very aggressive pace. And there's a lot of motivation for them to purchase. They are very satisfied, with owning a home. They are doing everything it takes to become what we deem as ready for purchase. Now, let's talk about that. We really have to talk about the credit profile. They are cleaning up their credit. Guess what? They have a lot of challenges and they're overcoming their challenges. Their willingness to become ready for purchase is pretty impressive. Now, I do have to say, and I told Bobby this as she invited me for this webinar, haven't seen too many organizations go out there and really embrace this demographic and make this their niche. So I'm really proud of her organization, of her efforts, because women home buyers, potential first-time home buyers that are women, absolutely need the support. And we'll talk about that a little more. So let's get into this amazing study. It's very interesting. I mentioned single women are the second largest home buyer demographic. Now, a tidbit that I was kind of shocked at is these buyers, the largest pool of these buyers are 66 to 74%. So that's the higher ratio at 22%. Now, why or what's going on with this? Well, we looked a little further into this. And you're probably thinking the entire time we're mentioning single women, you might be thinking lower end sales prices and maybe the LMI, the lower moderate income buyer. And that is not the case. These women that are kind of boomer age demographic are actually very well represented financially. They definitely have enough to put down for a higher price point, and they are purchasing in these higher MSAs. So very interesting. This is not your entry-level buyer. They are very equipped with what it takes for them to become homeowners. So please do know you're not working with a lower sales price demographic. Now, let's talk about the future male versus future female outlook. So according to our recent Freddie Mac study, 66% of women said they expect to buy a home compared to 71% of men. As I was talking to our group about this, it's interesting. I believe it's kind of like that gender nuance. As a male, you're expected, you're going to buy a home because you're going to be the head of a household. But I think our roles are definitely changing, and women are now definitely saying, no, the perception is wrong. I'm going to buy a house. I'm not going to wait for marriage. I'm not going to wait to have children. I'm going to buy a home and I'm going to close that generational wealth gap. And I think it's fascinating. I also like the fact that they're also doing every single change. 54% of women had to make changes to afford first their rents and then their mortgage, compared to 47% of men. So they are willing to do everything it takes to qualify for these mortgages. So what does that look like? Well, guess what? They carry heavy student loan debt compared to men. And if we get into minority age demographics, they may even carry more student loan debt. Yet they're doing everything it takes to become homeowners. So this is a really great niche client that you can actually support. Now, I love this slide. 63% of female owners are satisfied with their owning experience compared to 58% of males. So for a very long time, we had this perception of women don't want to buy a home. They don't want to experience the upkeep. They don't want to spend money on the upkeep. Not so. Women actually say, hey, if we need to renovate the home, if we need whatever it takes to own the home, maintain the home, and sustainable home ownership is very important to them. So I also need to dispel that myth in our industry. Now, when it comes to these potential first-time homebuyers, I have to say they are so ethnically diverse. This age demographic of potential first-time homebuyers is quite diverse. And as you can see here from our historical charts, it's just becoming more ethnically diverse for first-time homebuyers. With that comes a whole new set of challenges. And I feel that at Freddie Mac, we've really come up with some fantastic solutions. So if you're a housing industry professional, we need to educate you on how to overcome those challenges and help these potential first-time homebuyers. If you are a first-time home buyer, let one of our professionals help you. Now, let's dispel a couple of other myths for this buyer demographic. Down payment is the biggest barrier to home ownership, not just amongst millennials, I have to say amongst first-time home buyers, and especially women. Bobby and I had a fantastic conversation earlier. She made such a great point that I wrote it down. I think women are not taught financial literacy at a young age because we might not be that demographic our parents said, hey, she needs to know about the entire nuance of purchasing a home all the way to post-close. It's usually the males that get this. So let me dispel the first myth. You do not need 20% down to buy a home. You can buy a home with as little as 3% down. And guess what? There's down payment assistance out there. Let our housing industry professionals help you, educate you, hold your hand. Also, it's fantastic to know there are down payment assistance programs out there that can help you with your down payment and closing costs if you qualify. With that, what's the big reason we haven't had more first-time home buyers? Well, I know we've got an expert on this panel that's going to talk about inventory, but financial literacy is the biggest impediment. And what does that mean? While these women are highly educated, have higher learning degrees, are getting educated at an aggressive pace, guess what? They're not teaching financial literacy at these universities, and they're not getting it at home. You are the subject matter expert in your community. If you're a housing industry professional, we need your help. And potential first-time home buyers, we want to help you. I have a fantastic award-winning resource that's free in 6 languages. It's called Freddie Mac's Credit Smart. And I'm sharing the resource with everyone on this presentation. So we need financial literacy. That really is the bigger impediment. With that, Bobby, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and
excellent.
Over to you.
Excellent. That is just so eye-opening. And I know that we're going to be referencing that those statistics pretty much throughout the entire hour. But I want to really introduce now our incredible panel of professionals to talk about the state of the housing market. Nora just gave us this great presentation. So I'm looking forward to really having a dynamic and interactive discussion with everyone. So I'm going to briefly introduce everyone. We've been putting everyone's full bio on our website. So please, if you haven't If you haven't taken a look, please go to our website and look at everyone's full bio. These are extremely accomplished women. So first, Valerie Saunders is a 30-year veteran in the mortgage and title industry. I'm sorry, in the title insurance industry, currently serving as president of the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. She also holds key roles as vice president of RE Financial Services and as president of Title Clearinghouse of Jacksonville. Her expertise has been recognized by her inclusion on panels for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, addressing really complex industry topics. So welcome, Valerie. And we have Danushka Naniakara Skillington. And Danushka is the Assistant Vice President for Forecasting and Analysis at the National Association of Home Builders. And that's where she leads the housing market analysis, industry surveys, and the development of national, regional, and long-term and remodeling forecasts. And Wendy Hooper Ross is a real estate broker and seasoned entrepreneur who leads a diverse international team to address the nuanced needs of homeowners and investors, offering in-depth real estate analysis. She is also host of Orange County on American Dream TV, which airs on Fox Los Angeles and Apple TV. And we have an incredible Q&A moderator this year, Carolyn Cooper McQuad. And with over 4 decades of experience in applying an understanding of human behavior to business, Carolyn's mission is to instill a sense of purpose and empathy in businesses, prompting authentic leadership and driving tangible results, innovation, and sustained growth. So let's see. So welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for your time. What I really want to start with is, what's really great about women's home ownership is that overall, there are no groups that are being left behind. Across all ages, ethnicities, and cultures, the number of women purchasing homes continues to increase. It's something that Nora referenced in her introduction. So truly, in this sense, we really are one community. And so Nora gave us this incredible overview. So let's talk about the market. So Wendy, why don't you start us off? Can you provide a general overview of the real estate market trends and how those trends and shifts are impacting women?
How much time do we have? I mean, I could have the next hour. Thank you so much. Well, I think we've all noticed there is an acute shortage of housing inventory. And while I was one of many people that said that was because of COVID and the interest rates and all of the Fed activity, I have to confess that we were noticing dwindling supplies before COVID hit. It just exacerbated the situation. And something I said last August, when I was on a panel and the local experts that were moderating asked me what was my big takeaway for the next year. And I said, we need to adjust our expectations and understand we're going to have far less inventory forever, not for the next few years, not until, I don't know, the next 5 or 10 years, forever. And in California in particular, I know this is the case, and in Orange County, where I work and serve my clients, because it's a very affluent community. And various income tax code changes have sort of handcuffed people to their property. And the handcuffs aren't going to come off until some of these older boomers and more affluent people age out and literally die off, and then their next generation starts inheriting this. I don't wish for massive die-off anytime soon, so I'm not anticipating it's going to happen anytime soon. But what this does mean is that women, many like myself who are widows, may find ourselves handcuffed to our houses. So that's kind of where I'm going to put my emphasis, is talking to women about alternatives and how they can right-size their life, whether it be from a rental into a first home or from a larger home to a smaller home. And that's, I think, the most direct impact on women short term.
And Valerie, how do interest rates really play into this also?
Well, I mean, obviously, interest rates have an impact on the buying power of women, everybody in general. What you could have bought at 3% or 4% is going to be significantly different at 8%. But, you know, at the end of the day, buying is still cheaper than renting. You still have the connection to your community. You still have the, you know, the tax advantages, all of those things. So, I mean, you know, rates are always going to play a role in the housing market, no matter what, whether they're good or bad.
I was always told you date your rate and you marry your house or something like that.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. We're all waiting for the refi boom.
Yeah.
So.
Valerie, a great conversation you and I always have at presentations or as we're traveling the country together presenting is renters are paying 100% interest rate. So today's interest rate of whatever that market is may not be as, you know, impactful as they truly think. And I think financial literacy plays a role in that. Do you really understand the tax benefits of taking that high interest rate when you've never had a tax break or, you know, received mortgage interest back? I'm also curious, I know we are looking into this, how much money are they receiving in their first year with mortgage interest? And does that equate to a down payment for their home? You know, that's interesting. And I'm sure it varies by market, it varies by MSA, but that's something we should definitely look into it. But I do think, you know, when we talk about interest rates, we have to educate. When you're a renter, you're paying that landlord's 100% interest rate.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Really
the only person that whose wealth you are generating is your landlord.
Yeah.
That's so Danushka, talk about housing supply and the dwindling housing supply and how that's messing up our market.
That's, I think, the key thing here. It's the undersupply that we've had since the end of the Great Recession. We have not kept up with the demand. And then, of course, the demographics are in our favor on the demand side. But a lot of people don't, like, I understand interest rates. Everywhere I go, it's interest rates, right? 8%, 20-year highs. But at the same time, the builder financing is at a critical point right now. The acquisition, development, and construction loans that the builders are paying has now skyrocketed. Before the Fed started increasing the rates, they were paying around 5 or 6%. So now you can imagine with the Fed fund rate at 5.5, they're now paying over 12% for these loans. So it is crazy to think about it because more than 70% of the home building is done by smaller builders. Like there are these mom and pop shop companies that they do only like few projects, like roughly like we represent majority of them. So they do about 10 homes a year. So if you're paying 12% interest on these loans now, guess what? That's not happening anymore. So we are seeing a divergence here in the market. We have the demand, of course. It's just the supply is hurting so badly. You know, it's combined with the lack of labor, the skilled labor that we have, the shortages. We don't have enough lots because of the zoning regulation. The building materials, the supply chain issues have largely calmed down at this point, but there's still volatility in there too. And then, of course, the regulatory cost for a single family home. The regulations alone at the federal, state, and local level comes up to around $94,000 for a single family home. So that comes to, you know, like a quarter of the price. So when you put all these things together, it is almost impossible to build a home that we desperately need, maybe under $250,000 or $300,000 at this point. So single family construction is looking really choppy in the next few quarters. Multifamily, of course, we have the pandemic boom because of the low vacancy rates, the higher rents. It's going to carry us through probably middle of next year and then slow down just because there's so many units under construction for apartments at this point. And then, of course, the commercial lending rates are really high. So we are expecting both types of constructions to slow down in the next few quarters.
Danushka, talk a little bit more about zoning, because I'm in Los Angeles and there's a lot of changes in California zoning and they're really trying to kind of get rid of single family homes. that's a very broad statement.
Yeah.
But talk about how the zoning is impacting maybe some of the smaller mom and pop shops where my hunch is that larger developers are all in on multifamily rather than the single family. Talk a little bit about changing zones.
California, of course, the SB4 and SB9 bills are the newest ones that they were introduced, I think, at this. So Portland and Minneapolis are those two cities that everybody talks about that essentially has banned single family zoning. We honestly, we really need the missing middle housing, right? Because that's where you build for density. The construction cost is lower because it's a lower, like around 2,000 square feet. So I'm talking about like townhomes. I'm talking about duplexes, smaller construction units. But, regardless of what it is, we just need more housing. So you mentioned California. So California now is also encouraging ADUs, the accessory dwelling units in the lots. And then if you have a larger single family lot, to divide that lot as well. And I think I read somewhere like any religious institute who has land now can divide that up for housing as well.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that So, but then the local homeowners associations are coming up with really creative ways to stop that too. Right. I read in California, some homeowners associations tried to designate some area as mountain lion sanctuary. So you can.
That was in the Bay Area.
Yes. So, there are, it's too broad, right? It's too broad. Like when they say, oh, guess what? Now you can have all these little things that you can do to add housing supply. But you need to have you need to actually talk to the stakeholders at this point, right? Talk to the homeowners, talk to the local governments, talk to the municipalities. Like everybody needs to be on the same page here. So it would be great because 75% of the lots in the US is zoned exclusively only for single family housing. And we need every type of housing at this point. So it would be great. And at the same time, finding the resources is really hard too. I was just reading about this, like the Mountain Lion Sanctuary on HUD actually has a great paper out there that talks about so many areas that has tackled this issue. So Nora pointed out Houston as one of the areas that has highest mortgage rates. Houston and Dallas are the largest metro areas for single family construction. And guess what? In the 90s, they took away the minimum lot requirement. So, those policies have now in decades in the making and is now encouraging construction. So I understand it's like, it takes a long time to get these things done, but we need to go take it step by step, even if it's baby steps. Maybe 10 years down the line, we might actually be able to construct enough homes to meet the demand in the area.
I want, Carolyn, do we have any questions?
We do not at the moment.
Oh, we do not. Okay.
So
all right.
I'm just inviting anybody who's listening in here. If you have a question for any of the panel members, please feel free. We would be really appreciative to answer any questions from anyone. Thank you.
The other thing too is that with I'm wondering how if the zoning laws are moving more towards multifamily homes, is that impacting, how is that impacting women? That are those I want to say are they less expensive than single family homes, but my experience in California is sometimes not. So Wendy, do you want to talk a little bit about the multifamily homes and do women prefer them?
It's a really interesting question. And what I'm seeing is two very polarized sides to that coin. One is I have two clients at the moment who are like myself, older, over 55. They want to buy a new property to downsize into to be their forever home. And both of them specifically say they want an ADU on it already, or they want to know they can easily have one put there so they know that they can have passive revenue come in as they're planning for their retirement. So I think it's very, very smart. And I'm delighted to see that the two clients who are thinking this way are women, which doesn't surprise me at all. But then there's the other side of the coin. And what I'm seeing is younger women, especially younger women who are living alone, are saying, I don't feel safe necessarily having someone live that close to me. That doesn't make me comfortable. And that would be like the duplex, triplex, fourplex situation. So I do see that there's a bit of divisiveness in terms of the age demographic for, who feels this is a benefit and who doesn't.
Oh, interesting. So this kind of goes into our next topic, and I really want to talk about it's what they're calling the she economy and the great wealth transfer. So on one side of the coin, with younger women, they're getting educated, they're delaying marriage, they're delaying childbirth, they're getting their own money, they're graduating college, and actually the millennials are the first generation that have not equated home ownership with purchasing a home. It's purely economic. It's like they've got a college degree, they've got a great job, they don't want to pay rent. It's simple. It's wonderful. And so they're going out with their own money and their parents' emotional support and saying, I'm buying homes. And so you've got that piece on the younger side. And then on the older side, you've got older women who they're inheriting. There's the graying divorce. They're inheriting money from their parents. Many generations ago, it was the sons that inherited the money. Now it's divided among all the kids, and again, being very general. And then you've got older men that are dying prior to their wives. So you've got older women that have now are gaining a lot of wealth. And so you've got both sides of the coin, age-wise, and you've got women that are going to be managing trillions and more dollars financially than they ever have before. So given that, I was just kind of curious with all that, with Danushka. So our homes, here you've got women that are basically more in control of their finances than ever before. Are home builders catering to women? Are they building, are they finding that women want something other than men, or, is there a gender issue? Take it away.
So I'm sure you're not surprised. Only 10% of home building industry is women.
Yes.
It's majority men. And because of that, there's no consideration given exclusively for women-only communities or homes. But I believe this could be a first of many. In Utah last year, there was a house that was built. It's called the home that she built. It was from ground up, to the construction, to every aspect of that home was built by women, and only women. And even the publicity, the marketing, the realtor, everybody involved in building that home to selling that home was women. And I mean, there's a book behind it. It's an amazing story. I think that inspires girls, I think, because the author, Molly Ekman, actually goes to schools and talk to girls about joining construction trades, which is really important because, like you mentioned, there's this she economy, but at the same time, women live longer than men as well. So, there's going to be that aspect. How do we now account for aging in place, remodeling? And if only women are going to be in that house, those are things that we need to think about. And I feel like until women are part of that construction process, in that conversation, architecture, whatever it is, right? The needle moves slowly, but I have hope for the future, because I've even heard that schools are bringing shop class back. Even my own niece took a shop class So I'm like super excited. I think it's great. I really think that women needs to be in the construction spaces, in every space in society, to have a voice, to have representation. Otherwise, you are going to be sidelined. So right now we don't, but I think there is optimism for the future.
Wendy, what are you seeing in selling, in buying and selling directly from?
It's fascinating and delightful, and I have to assume that part of my relationship to my clients is because I am myself a woman broker. But two of my most recent first-time home buyers were dynamic young women, super young, and they were just going to beat the door down until they got into a home of their own. They weren't going to take no for an answer. And then again, conversely, other side of the coin, the two biggest, most prolific, most affluent investors I have are also women. So I'm seeing that women are coming in, and unlike men, where traditionally they have felt like homeownership was a right that was, given to every man, women are starting to demand it as well. And that's been a really fun shift to watch. So I'm seeing it boots on the ground, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
And Nora,
Bobby, I was about to say, it's notable that you have all these experts on this panel, and we are all women. I almost feel like there was a first for us in something, right? I mean, we are out there, we represent our women, and, definitely put us all together, and you've got the entire housing industry pretty much covered, as you mentioned. So I think that's so notable. So thank you for bringing us all together to help our communities.
Nora, I know you talk to women all over the country. What are they asking you? What are they, talking about? And are you seeing differences in, well, I mean, that would be natural. You would see differences given their ages and where they are in life.
Yeah. So I think I think age demographic really plays into what is the ask. I think overall, as a gender, women are asking the housing industry to help them get through the process. Remember, they don't know what it's going to take for them to become qualified. They need your help. So what they're asking is, can you market to them? Can you make yourself available to them? They need your help, and they're doing it alone now. And yes, they go to the housing industry professional, they go to the real estate agent, but it's almost like if you're willing to teach them, hold their hand, I think you're going to have a pool of really loyal first-time home buyers. And then guess what? As great women and great communicators as we are, if you get that amazing realtor like Wendy, I'm going to tell everybody about Wendy. Wendy does purchases, and she's a realtor in Orange County. We need to get Wendy all the business. So it's all, and I educate these women as I'm doing financial literacy events across the country as well. I tell them, how many, if I was to give you my best realtor and my best lender partner, how many referrals would you give them? And I kid you not, it always goes back to, my sister hasn't bought a home, my aunt hasn't bought a home, my mom still needs to buy a home. It's almost like we have this pool of historical renters in women as well. Grandma rented, mom rented. I don't even know how to buy a house, and nobody is marketing to me, and nobody is holding my hand. I need your help. And that's really the message I receive. And I always say, no, we got to get you some help. So I provide as many tools, references, and I love referring them back to the, great experts in our industry that are not only going to support them, but are going to support their referral service. Remember, our industry is referral based. It's all word of mouth. You don't have clients for life unless you make clients for life. So I think, being that subject matter expert in your community and showing the community, I'm here for you. This is what I do. I love this. This is my passion. By the way, I'm also a woman. I've gone through what you're going through. I own a home. I know exactly how scary it is. Let me help you. I think that's really the way our industry is going to support these women first-time home buyers. And let's also include those existing women homeowners that need sustainable home ownership. I always talk about HUD counselors, housing counselors out there that are available. there's a natural disaster, you guys, we got to get them the information right away for support so they can call their servicers, so they can get educated. What is the next step? I'm now experiencing an issue, and sustainable homeownership should come with also, that should be part of financial literacy for these women. And I want to see them all stay and, build generational wealth with these homes.
Let's bring Valerie in, since she's our finance guru, and with the president of the Mortgage Brokers Association. Valerie, you're not on my screen, but I'm so sorry. Where are you? Anyway, Valerie, talk to everyone about what are you seeing as far as, women and their financial literacy, older versus younger. Talk to us a little bit about kind of what you're seeing.
Sure. So I do think, as more states adopt legislation to have financial literacy in high schools, maybe even junior high. I know I started financial literacy when I was in junior high, back in the old days where we learned how to write a check. What the heck is that? But I think that you're going to find more very well educated people who realize that buying is the way to go. I'm going to use my own younger daughter as an example. At 24, she bought her first house with last year, 24, and she was able to save money. She saw the value of purchasing versus renting. I mean, I get it. It helps that she has a mother who's in the mortgage business. But it wasn't me pushing her to purchase, because I would not have imagined, I didn't own my own house when I was 24. So I think that young women are becoming more responsible, not just for themselves, but for the people around them. And I do want to say too, I also own a title company, and I do a lot of business with Habitat for Humanity. And I've been doing things with them for at least 20 years. Of all the transactions I've done, about 98% of them are single women. And what I find is that I guess they have more of a drive or desire to advance themselves. And it's not all young. It also happens to be older women who find themselves in a situation where maybe they're having to take care of their grandchildren. And they're seeing the value of, purchasing a home and having roots and being able to establish generational wealth so that they can share that with their grandchildren. Ironically, the few men that I have seen there purchasing were pushed by either their children or their grandchildren. I like to think that women are we're better organizers, I guess, I would say. So, I know in my household, my mother paid the bills. In this current household, I pay the bills. In my daughter's household,
and that's becoming the norm. That's the norm. Yeah, the women control finances.
So I think that women overall just no offense, men, but have a greater drive and desire for advancement, and don't want to just drag their feet. They want that immediate sense of gratification. And I think, that's just our society. If you can't find something in 5 seconds, chances are you're going to probably abandon it. But I just see the role of women, and more women purchasing, playing a larger role within, the financial services industry as well. I know when I go to events or meetings, there's at least 50%, if not more, are women And, our industry is kind of, in my opinion, sort of the great equalizer, because it's all just a numbers game. And we all have to, through our compensation rules federally, we're all paid the same. And, so it's kind of, just a good environment, a good business structure for women to advance.
Excellent. And then, Carolyn, you do a lot of work with business women. So I want to bring you in here since we don't have a lot of questions right now. What are you seeing from business women and how they are approaching, talking about like their personal finances and home ownership and where they live?
Yeah. And I think COVID changed a lot of things for women in business too. I do. I think a lot more women became more confident and bolder. Those ideas or concepts or working for corporate that were percolating on the back burner, they went home. It's like Nora said, they're working from home and it's working. So they're thinking, well, maybe I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to look at my skills, my talents, my expertise, my degrees, and start something on my own. So there was this huge influx of people starting their own business as women too. And the truth is, I think that women are becoming more confident in all areas, whether it's home building, whether it's becoming in the financial industry. If you're noticing 50%, I bet you, 10, 15 years ago, that percentage was much lower, Valerie. And to see all these women here on this panel, they are all leaders within their own area of expertise. And what I see globally for women in business is women are becoming more empowered to realize that this is a global experience on how we can serve as an accountant, as a lawyer, as a consultant, as a speaker, as a business development coach, a life coach, whatever area of expertise that they have, and still be able to have a life that they love with balance and nature and self-care and family. So I've seen a huge, transition. I mean, I've been supporting businesses for over 3 decades, and I see a big transition of more women becoming more confident to make that decision, take that leap, and do what they love and what matters most. So, yeah.
And then I see we have a question.
Oh, good. What are your thoughts on interest rate trends and the possibility of the housing prices dropping? Should I wait a while to buy a property, do you think? That's good.
I'll chime in on that one. And Nora may want to also. But, don't wait. Regardless, Nora mentioned earlier, renting is just giving the landlord 100% interest. So your buying power is always there. So if you find a home that fits what you're looking for, fits your lifestyle, it's in a community that you want, there is a way. So don't let anything be a barrier to home ownership.
And in adding to that, we are looking at data and statistics on buyers who are ready to purchase a home. Let's talk really quickly about benefits of homeownership outweighing the risk. So the benefits are absolutely, in today's housing environment, no matter what the interest rate is, remember, that interest rate is not for 30 years. It's only until you refinance that loan and the interest rates go down. However, we have housing appreciation at historical levels. Your ROI, your return of investment on that home is going to be historical compared to you renting, because when you rent, you're building his generational wealth, you're building his retirement, not your own. Something that I think is also interesting is if you qualify for a mortgage today, according to our data, it's actually a lot of housing industry data, but according to our data, if you qualify today, you may not qualify next year because of that housing appreciation. That it's the increase is kind of pushing out buyers year by year. Remember, that demand on these buyers is not going away. Now, what does the demand look like? Well, there's 71.2 million millennials out there. 50 million have not bought a home. Guess how many are single women? A lot of them. So if you qualify for a mortgage today, my suggestion, and I don't think, and we'll talk about the risk right now on mortgages, but my opinion on the statistics on that is that please qualify, purchase the home if you can afford it, because that is a huge benefit to you overall. Now, what is the risk? Natural disasters. Natural disaster. If you live, Valerie and I, she's in Florida, I'm in LA. So we always talk about natural disasters. One day I was texting her saying, hey, by the way, LA is getting, I think we're getting a hurricane, something wild. And I said, we've never had that, Valerie. And she's like, oh, we're experts at that. But I do have to say, if there is something of a natural disaster, that would, be a risk, because if you're a renter, you would call the landlord if, you get flooded. However, I do have to say, if there are those type of risks, there are now resources. I do have to say, as GSCs, we've really learned a lot from the 2008 mortgage crisis. There are programs in place such as forbearance modification. We want to keep homeowners in their homes. We don't want a repeat of 2008. It is completely opposite of 2008. I do have to say that as I go out there and I present, the first thing people tell me is, Nora, I think the prices are going to adjust. No, they're not, because if you think of the demand and the fact, Danushka, I'm fangirling you because inventory is what I need for our existing homeowners. And I know, Wendy, you need them too. Valerie and I have this conversation all the time, but the demand is not going away. Okay. If we have these potential first-time homebuyers that haven't bought a home, guess what? The next generation, Gen Zers, they're little eager beavers. They want to buy a home too. And guess what? They have a great perception of home ownership. They are not jaded by the 2008 mortgage crisis. So they say their perception is, I can't wait to buy a home. So the demand, those sales prices, it just isn't feasible for you to think that they're going to go down at historical levels. Now, one thing I will mention, and Valerie, you're going to appreciate this because you and I talk about this all the time. We have these conversations all the time as we're traveling. But if you're ever expecting those interest rates to get down to that historical interest rate of 2.35% January 2022, it's not going to happen. And I do have to say, if our 50 million millennials were financially literate, all 50 million would have tried to buy a home, or at least got pre-qualified when we had the lowest interest rate in housing history. I mean, I kid you not, so many of them that did take advantage really changed generational wealth for themselves and for their future generations with that. So please, like Valerie said, do not let there be barriers into homeownership. I think that if you really write down the benefits, you'll see the longer list compared to the smaller list of risk. And if you lose your job, HUD counselors are out there, housing counselors, and there's organizations that are now equipped with programs. They're going to walk you through the process to help you keep your home, sustainable home ownership.
Nora, were those organizations around during the, what was it, 2008, 29?
Not really. No. Okay. So no, those were an outcome of, the 2008 mortgage crisis. And as a matter of fact, they are big national partners of Freddie Mac's. We have these organizations, and I'll get everybody a website. And what it is a search engine on a Freddie Mac, one of our Freddie Mac websites, and it shows you the housing counselor that is near you that can help you. And this is the cool thing. Housing counselors can help you prepare for homeownership, can help you through the homeownership process, and they'll help you post homeownership, qualification of homeownership. So once you're a homeowner, they stay your friends and they want to help you with all the tools and resources. And I do have to say, they are great at what they do. One last thing. I'm going to bring up Danushka. I am fascinated by inventory challenges. Some of the solutions at Freddie Mac that we discuss, and I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on this, are product solutions to lack of inventory because, you know, the builders don't have the manpower. You know, we always hear about, you know, lack of lumber, cost of lumber, you know, and definitely the manpower. What are your thoughts on product solutions such as renovation? What is it? The statistic average age of a home in America is 50 years old. Then I'm thinking ADUs. And then we're also talking about manufactured housing such as cross mods, kind of an affordable solution. I'm going to tell you, we're in LA, haven't seen too many out here, but I hear they're coming. But what are your thoughts?
So it's so funny. I actually spoke at the Offsite Housing Summit last week. At NHB, we emphasize modular and panelized construction. So in order to increase productivity, bring costs down, affordable units. But the market share is so small, you know, the completions, when you look at it, it's only 2%. Oh. And I think there's a stigma attached. People think they look like, they think that they're in like a trailer park, or I don't know what it is.
They're not. Have you seen those cross mods? They're fascinating. So I've seen them in DC. They're awesome. Yeah. And you guys, they look like single family homes. And I don't know if you know this, Danushka, is Freddie Mac we even changed our MH guidelines, our manufacturer guidelines, to allow appraisers to utilize comparables so that they appreciate at the same level as site-built homes. You guys, this is game changer for our women. They're going to buy these homes at affordable rates, but they're going to appreciate at the same level as their neighbor who maybe has a single family. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would love, this is where we could increase like production, right? Because on the labor front, you're not recruiting construction workers anymore. You are recruiting manufacturing workers. That's a great way for women to start working too, because women are sidelined from COVID, right? And we can increase productivity because we don't have an aging labor force. We don't have enough young people. So all these issues get solved. And then, of course, you know, the wasting of labor, like the material, nothing like that happens. It's precision manufacturing, right? In factories, it would be awesome if we can get, but in a regional wise, it's actually New England states that have largest share of this type of construction than anything else. I think it's because it's a weather related, because half the year you can't build there. So maybe, maybe, you know, if you bring modular and panelized construction methods, you can actually build something. But I would love for it to actually take off and, you know, be more common across the country. But since the 90s, the share has been just going down every year.
So I have a question. You mentioned cross mods. Are you referring to the tiny homes? Is that
no? So cross mods are cross modular homes. They're just named cross mods across the industry. I will tell you, the Clayton builds these cross mods. If you check out one of their videos, you guys, fascinating. I mean, the houses actually have garages. It's not your old school, you know, like lifted, raised foundation. They're pretty cool. And let me tell you, some locations, as Danushka said, you know, it all depends on where's the land too. Danushka, we talk about that all the time, don't we? Got to have land to be able to build that. So Wendy, you know what? Hold on, Wendy, because Laguna has a really great community out there that has cross mods, and they're actually really like affordable, but they're really gorgeous. So I was going to say, it's maybe not in Orange County. Maybe not LA either, but I do have to say the Pacific Northwest, I'm seeing a lot of those, and I go out there and I present on that topic. I'm also seeing a lot of Texas. Danushka, what are your thoughts on Texas? Because there's a lot of land available in Texas, and I do have to say Houston is definitely adopting the MH. So we might see them pop up there. Yeah, and Caroline, I'll make sure to send that website to you guys as well to provide to our audience in case they want to take a peek at that.
Great, thank you. And just one other thing too is what are your thoughts on tiny homes? I mean, there's a lot of shows on TV on tiny homes, and are there a lot of zoning restrictions for these type of homes? Is a question from the chat from Susan Jarima. Thank you, Susan. So, question on that.
Danushka, I'm going to let you talk on that only because we don't finance tiny homes.
I know it's like we don't even have builders talking about it. I know Home Depot tried to do that, like the tiny home, $15,000. It's a kit. You can buy it and you can go and finish it off, but it's negligible. In our opinion, we don't even track it.
Because you probably need the land. I'm curious with Valerie, do you finance that type? What type of loan would a tiny home have?
So we can only finance properties that are real properties. So it's got to be a structure connected to a property. Can't have any sort of modular type. It's got to have, connected to a foundation. But regarding the tiny homes, I do want to say our Habitat for Humanity in our area created a whole entire subdivision of tiny homes in order to try to combat the homeless crisis. Mm-hmm. And so it was it was a great way for them to be able to have structures that are manageable, that fill a need, but of course they were able to finance it themselves. So, but no, I don't know of anybody that finances a tiny home.
And I'm just kind of curious, Valerie, we had talked on our podcast a lot about investing in mobile homes. And for, mobile homes in Malibu are $6 million. So it's not just for,
That's one heck of a mobile home.
And you have the view of the Pacific Ocean. But I was curious with mobile homes and maybe these modular homes, are there any policies coming out that would have financing available for these types of more innovative solutions?
So as far as mobile homes, and I happen to live here in Florida, where we have a lot of mobile homes. Believe it or not, Florida has a very large rural community. And so there are a lot of people who live in mobile homes. And so once again, as long as it's the mobile home plus the land together, we are able to finance it. So, I mean, and that's been going on for years and years. It's when you get into the process of just purchasing the mobile home itself, because it's considered personal property, like a vehicle, then you're going to, be going to like a mobile home park, which there are some beautiful mobile home parks, especially in South Florida. There's whole retirement communities that are nothing but mobile homes, and they're gorgeous. But
here in California too,
it can be financed.
Yeah, it really depends. It's not, I know people have this this mindset that, trailer parks and maybe a 1970s bad movie or something, but now with land at a premium, they've got some beautiful communities. So if people are interested, it may, Wendy, are you seeing anyone in your circle that would be interested in investing in like different type of properties other than just, traditional construction?
Not anymore. And here's why. Because when you get into situations like mobile homes, or even here in Orange County, there are large swaths of land where families and trusts own the land and then they lease it back to condominium associations. And in all of these situations where someone else owns the dirt upon which your livelihood sits, there's so much inherent risk that people are starting to really get jumpy about that. Your mobile home lot lease fees could be $2,000. But then when the land lease comes up for renewal after 20, 30, 40 years, whatever that was, they can increase by tenfold. And we're starting to see that happen with these large tracts of lands where the land leases are are coming due again. And of course, state and government agencies have had to come in and squash some of this egregious increase. But that's really taken the allure out of it.
I have another question on that front. In California, there was a law that was signed, I think it was last week or the week before, where you can now sell ADUs. It used to be, you used to rent them, right? Like traditionally just rent them for passive income. Now there's cities have to opt into it, but you can sell an ADU as a condo, which means your single family home is now a homeowners association. So I think it's going to be a boondoggle for lawyers.
Crazy. It's interesting too, because they have to assign a parcel number to it. Every condominium, even if you're all attached, you all have your own assessor parcel number. And if, like, I have an ADU on my house, it was here when we bought the house, it doesn't have its own parcel number. So that was my first question of, all right, well, the assessor's office is going to be very, very busy assigning all these new parcel numbers. So that's going to be the first part, I think, of the boondoggle.
Okay, because usually, if with California, other states tend to follow if it's successful. So
I don't even know how that would work, because to assign a parcel number to a lot that already has a parcel number assigned is impossible.
Right. They would
from
have
an
to
assessor
divide
standpoint.
it. Yeah.
So you would really have to get to the point where that lot is split.
Yeah.
So that you're, because when they assess property, unless it's, a condominium, it's the land plus the structure, because there's site value and then there's structure value. So I don't see how that would work easily or successfly.
Well, I guess we'll find out, right? It's the
I
law,
guess,
so
yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I wanted to, since we've been talking a lot about different, Nora had mentioned it earlier about different stages of first-time home buyers, where it's not just all younger professionals. It's, women that are, in their 50s and 60s and 70s. What is the one tip or a good piece of advice you would give older first-time home buyers? Or maybe just one for younger, one for older. And why don't we start with Nora?
Oh, yeah. I'm so passionate about this topic. So, older women, home buyers, and homeowners, I can't tell you enough, across your country, whatever your trust laws are, put that property in a trust. Please reach out to a trust attorney. Do not try to do this yourself. You may make an error. We're seeing a lot of the feedback that we receive when I present is grandma did this herself. She made an error. We're now back in court fighting the property rights and who's going to end up with the property. So it's almost like that amazing win of owning this home kind of went down sideways because they did not put their home in a correct trust. I think, generations that have done a phenomenal job of passing wealth have understood. They have so much financial literacy, have attorneys, have the means at least to educate themselves on how to pass generational wealth. So if you're of that age, I would absolutely, that is the best, biggest tip. Don't have an attorney to send to you, but please find one in your local area. And I'm sure I'm sure Bobby can find a resource for someone, wherever you're located. Put that property in a real trust. Make sure that it is filed. Make sure you have a copy of it. Understand what is a revocable trust, what is an irrevocable trust. That also goes back to financial literacy. And make sure that your wishes are in that trust. That's my tip.
Advice. Valerie.
I do want to say, so on my title insurance side is coming out, because putting a property in a trust will limit you on financing.
Oh, yeah.
There are a lot of lenders, and I don't know how much Freddie Mac buys in trusts, but there are a lot of lenders that will not allow a property to be financed in a trust. So there are other financial and estate planning options. For example, which is what my parents did, is they added myself and my brother as joint tenants with rights of survivorship. So basically what happens is when they pass away, the property automatically goes to us. We don't have to probate it. There's also things called ladybird deeds, where you can actually deed the property to your children, and you can reserve yourself the ability to mortgage it without your children having to acknowledge the mortgage or deed of trust, depending on whatever state. So I would just say, yes, estate planning, financial planning is definitely beneficial. However, you have to look a little bit down the road. If you're in your home and your house is free and clear, by all means, get a trust or do some sort of estate planning. But if you intend to mortgage that property, and I say mortgage because in Florida we do mortgages, look at your options, because a trust may not necessarily be an option for you. And the primary reason is trustees can change. They can change from the person that signed the note. So that's why a lot of lenders don't like trusts.
Oh, interesting.
And Valerie, just real quick, what we're seeing is certain states that allow trusts, the attorneys actually allow like up to 3 refinances, where for financing purposes, the lenders will require them to pull it out of the trust once they record that first deed. And then as soon as they're done, they're going to put it back into the trust. So definitely look at your state laws. That's going to be super important. And it's also, like Valerie said, please look at, look at all your options. Be well aware of all your options. I love that. Great suggestion.
And check with your lender, because taking your property out of title the way that the note and the mortgage were secured can potentially be default.
Yeah.
So before you do anything, if your property has a mortgage on it or a deed of trust, and if it's a deed of trust, you're really not going to be able to do it because you don't own it anyway. But if the property is mortgaged, contact your lender before you do it, because they're going to know, because they're going to find out from the real estate taxes. It's going to tell them that the person that signed the note and mortgage is no longer the owner. So just, check.
Excellent tips. Wendy, what would be your tip?
And I'm just going to echo what both of these ladies said. In California, because it's so high cost and because probate is such a very real thing, most people do put it into trust and take it out for refinancing and put it back into the trust. And the obvious carve-out caveat would be that the people who sign the note are the people who are on the trust. That doesn't change. And generally speaking, the lenders have been cool with that. The other thing I'm noticing with older women who are first-time buyers, if we're still on that topic, is that many of us, and I put myself in that bucket because I'm pushing 60, I'm getting set in my ways. I want to live where I want to live. I want to be around my people and my places and all of that. And with prices accelerating the way they are, there's a very strong chance an older first-time buyer is not going to be able to afford really what she wants. And I have a conversation with them almost on the daily saying, I still advise you to buy real estate. Let's talk about an investment property. Let's talk about getting a rental property, and providing it's in an area that you're familiar with, you're comfortable with. A lot of education needs to go into this, but then they enjoy more tax benefits than they would have if it was their primary, especially in California, where we have that SALT tax cap, the state and local tax cap at $10,000 in write-offs doesn't begin to cover what we used to have for write-offs on our primary residences. However, if I now buy a rental property, I have additional write-offs that I can enjoy. So in some circumstances, that's the better choice for the first timer entering the market now.
Excellent. And Danushka, from a builder's perspective, what would be your advice for first-time home buyers?
Be flexible. You might not find the perfect home, the forever home, right? So there are options. Townhomes are fantastic. If you can, in an area that's affordable, tear down property, remodeling. I think these are things that you have to be kind of open to at this point, just because we don't have enough housing, right? Enough inventory. So you might not be able to find your dream home, but just also understand this is not going to be a forever home too. You're more than likely buy another home, level up eventually. So be flexible. That would be from a builder perspective.
Here, Carolyn, there's a question.
I'm in this category too, and going through major transitions. And I think that people are willing now as an older person. I'm not a first-time buyer, but I see a lot of the people that are in my circle of influence that their husbands have passed away. They've gone through a divorce and they have this chunk of money. And I think they're in fear. I think they're in procrastination, to be honest with you. And I think that they don't know where to go and what to do. So they talk to one mortgage broker, they talk to their financial advisor, they'll talk to a lawyer, and they get messages that are different from all of them. So what I think is really cool about this, Bobby, is these people here have so much integrity, so much dedication to women being successful, that this single lady estates could be the place that you find your peeps, that you find people that you can trust, find people to have those conversations that are meaningful to you. So I think owning a home, especially as an older person, a first-time buyer, would be the most exhilarating, inspirational piece of legacy that woman would want to leave for her children. And, I just think that she needs to build her confidence in regards to making that decision and talk to the right people that she can trust, and be able to ask the questions that she needs to ask, right?
Yeah, I agree. We do have a question. It's here's the question.
I missed it. Oh, sorry, I missed it.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So here's another one from Susan Jarima. Thank you, Susan. Susan is my business partner at the Grand Connection, grandconnection.ca, and she owns lots of properties. So she in the States as well as in Canada. So her question is, what's the best way to help and protect your young adult daughter to buy her first home?
Valerie, it sounds like you're successful at this. Please take it away.
I was going to say, I'll answer this because obviously I just experienced this, but it's the same answer that I would give any young person. Don't, shop around, look at all your resources, look at the community that you want to live in. Don't just take the first, as Danishka said, don't just take the first property because you found something. Just like I always compare a house to a car. Chances are you're not going to buy the first car that you look at. So why would you buy the first house that you look at? But as far as my daughter goes, she did save a lot of money. So I think that if you have a goal and you dedicate yourself to that goal, even if you just put $100 away, and if you're a terrible saver, give it to somebody else to save for you. I guarantee your mother, your father, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles will be more than happy to take your money and put it aside so that you can use it to purchase a home. As Nora said, you can buy a home for as low as 3% down. In some cases, it may be, if you're a veteran, you don't even need a down payment. So it depends on what the circumstances are. But just be dedicated to whatever your goal is, and you will accomplish it.
I love it. Can I just throw one more thing in? My mom was amazing, people. She just passed away 2 years ago at 93. She managed all her finances back down right till her last breath. She was so organized. She was amazing. And she really inspired me. I bought my first home at 21 years old. And she supported me to see the vision. To be honest, she inspired me all the time. She said, save, Carolyn, save. Just save. Just save enough money for a down payment. Just save. So, it changed my life, and it's changed my entire life. I'm in the 6th decade now, but her education to me, just like you, Valerie, with your daughter. You know, it's completely created this abundant foundation of confidence and no fear when it comes to the whole journey. So mothers can make a massive difference in your children's life. So, you know, thanks, Mom. You know, and young people need, I think, that kind of encouragement as well as belief in them that they can do it.
And Carolyn, to your point, I have a 20-year-old daughter and she's a junior in college. And all we ever talk about when we want to have like a fun conversation, we talk about her owning a condo in the future. And we always talk about, what do you want it to look like? And where would you like to live? And do you ever talk about, you know, or I ask her, what is your like furniture aesthetic? And she gets so excited and giddy and tells me, Mom, you know, asks me, Mom, I mean, you know, she's my daughter and I've been in the industry for so long. When she was a little girl, I used to drive a Tahoe and my children were in the back. And she was 8 years old and she used to fill out my 1003 applications when I was an originator, because I would be driving, asking the borrower their interview questions, and she knew where to plug in the info, at least for page 1. So she now says, you know, all I need is my down payment, and then where can we find local funds that can help me? And I get to see that these conversations made an impact on her, even though I don't tell her, hey, by the way, you know, you're going to have to, you know, get 3% down, or, hey, you need, you know, assets or whatever. She's really grasped the fact that I talk about this so much to our, you know, potential first-time home buyers, and just listening at home has made an impact on her. But I also have a 16-year-old son, and he says, well, wait a minute, if she's getting a condo, how about me? And I'm like, hold tight, we got to get the girl in first. So
yeah, well, it's the same in my home too. I mean, both my kids just inherited a big financial abundance. So they're both deciding what they're going to do. But to have those conversations with your kids about the vision, about the details, so they can picture it and feel it and see it, that is how you're going to set a goal. That's how Valerie supported her daughter to get her first home. So
and take your daughter to work. My mother took me to work. I took my kids to work. When they see you in an environment where you may be a leader. I mean, I've owned my own business for over 20 years, and you know, which has enabled me to raise my kids, leave whenever I wanted to leave, you know, go on vacations, do all the school things that my kids wanted to do. But also they saw me working and accomplishing a goal. So, you know, it obviously it works.
There was one other question in the chat I wanted to get to. It says, what state is the best place to buy a rental property? So why don't we start with Wendy, the broker?
Honestly, since I'm a broker, I focus only on Southern California. So I can tell you definitively, it is not here.
No.
I would love to hear what Nora and Valerie are seeing, because they see more of the appraisals and the rental surveys. My gut is somewhere in the Rust Belt, but ladies, what do you see?
You know, I've seen Austin grow up. I've seen Austin move up as a desirable area, even out of the city of Austin, because now it's not affordable. But, you know, pre-COVID, it was definitely a hot MSA for rental properties. And I do have to say, a lot of Airbnbs. I've seen a lot of comments from potential first-time homebuyers saying these Airbnbs are now somewhat up for sale. So I do have to say, we've seen Houston, and I'm thinking also, as I mentioned, the migration, states with local affordability. So it's really, I've seen Oregon as the Pacific Northwest. Yes, weather is no longer an impact for you to say, oh no, this is a rainy environment. You know, if it's affordable and they can actually get net rents that are helping pay for the mortgage. So it's really a true investment, any pocket of affordability. Pacific Northwest, like on the west, I'm definitely seeing Oregon somewhat Washington. I was just in Bellingham, Washington, on the Canadian border. Average sales price was in the 300s, which was fascinating.
Wow.
And a huge opportunity, for second homes and rental properties. But I'm also thinking Oklahoma sales price is still, by national standards, very low. So it's really an opportunity. But the Midwest, Valerie, what are you seeing?
Just so wait a second. They also, Oklahoma has, if you want to move there or if you purchase there, they have programs. They have state programs. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Valerie.
I'm a little worried about those natural disasters in Oklahoma myself. But yes, if you can handle that, go for it. Let's get them out there.
I was just going to say anywhere that is not limited by land. Because you're not going to be able to find a lot of rental properties for purchase in markets that don't even have enough homes for people to buy as primary residences. So, obviously I'm here in Florida. We have a lot of rental properties here, a lot of Airbnbs and all of that, but there's only small pockets of our state that are basically built out. People, I think when they, think of Florida, they think of Miami or Disney, but there are, a lot of buildable areas. And so it's really look at the places that have lots of buildable area. If you're going to go to somewhere that is limited in their primary residences, they're really going to be limited in their rental property opportunities.
That's a good point. I wanted to wrap this up with a story. We all have, being women and being homeowners, there's always, some type of societal bias that we experience. So I want to wrap this up with a fun, light story that kind of exemplifies that. And I'll start. So I had a contractor over a few weeks ago, actually, to build a very small deck in my backyard. And this contractor gave me the most ridiculous quote, like 3 times what other contractors were doing. But he did it flirting with me, and he was young. He probably could be my son. He was flirting with me. And then after he quoted me in this ridiculous sum of money, he said, "Oh, I like your shoes." And the shoes were Nikes. They weren't even like my good shoes. So it's like the younger ones are being taught by the older ones. But anyway, so that was my experience, knowing full well that he would never do that with a man. So let's just kind of go around and just do some fun, light stories about what we all kind of go through. How about Nora? You want to start?
Sure. I was recently, funny thing, it just happened to me. I was recently in Alaska and I went to go visit a client, and I was the keynote presenter of a huge, educational event, in person and in webinar. I walked into the big conference room, and I tend to be very quiet and not really like announce I'm here or anything. And this gentleman walked up to me and said, "Hey, will you grab me a cup of coffee?" Because I was right next to the coffee station. So I kind of chuckled, and I'm like, I thought it was kind of a joke, but then he was like really meaning, I don't know if he thought maybe I worked there or I was an assistant. And sure enough, got him a cup of coffee. And I even said, "Hey, cream or sugar?" And I was really having fun with it. And they ended up announcing, my bio, and my headshot pops up. He's standing next to me with a cup of coffee, looks at me, looks at the bio, and says, "Oh my gosh." He's like, you're a keynote speaker." I go, "Yeah, I sure am." So I went up there and I did present. And I do have to tell you, best thing ever. I really had fun with it. He ran up to me as soon as I was done presenting. He goes, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed." He's like, "I'm so sorry. I really thought you worked here." And I said, "Yeah, no worries." I'm like, "But let me, please do not make any, don't jump to conclusions just because I'm quiet before presenting, please don't have any biases towards women." So he was mortified. He sent me a LinkedIn message. So if he ever sees this, he knows who he is. sent me a LinkedIn message. I'm terrified. I can't believe this. I'm like,
I love it.
right.
Love it. Danushka.
Actually, I have a very similar story to Nora. I was in a conference. I was a keynote speaker. I guess I just looked like the server, right? Maybe I was in a suit. Had the same thing happen to me. This dude came and asked me, like, what's at the buffet? And I'm like, well, unlike you, I was like, I don't know, you know? I was like, I'm your keynote speaker today. So I was not having it at 8 o'clock in the morning. So
good for you.
But I know it's as an economist, I see this all the time. I speak to a lot of builders. Everybody wants, they always tell me, oh, don't forget to smile up there, and I'm like, dude, like, would you tell this to a guy, So
how about Valerie?
I don't really have a story like that, other than it seems that whenever I'm out somewhere, I either have that face of I either look like I know what I'm doing or where I'm going. So people will ask me how to get certain, wear certain things in the grocery store or wherever. And if I know it, I will tell them. But I do have, where people just, don't necessarily take you seriously. Not anymore, because I think I have sort of, some people think I'm overly confident, maybe. But when I was younger, by all means, I did have male bosses who were intimidating, and, I figured a way to overcome it. I bought my own company. So it's a good way.
There you go. There you go. Wendy.
Oh my goodness. Mine is similar, but a little bit different. I was invited to a dinner speaking series as a subject matter expert. But they didn't tell me what exactly I was going to be speaking on. I just knew it was real estate. So I show up at this private club, and I, of course, being a woman, just did a deep dive, thought, what are they likely to ask? And did a ton of research about, market trends and stats and pricing and days on market. I just had a file, stacks of paper. Did not know they asked a man to do the same thing. And it was the two of us. So dinner starts, and they would ask the gentleman a question, and he would say something, and it was usually completely wrong. And they would ask me, I was like, well, actually, and I'd pull out my data and say, that's not exactly right. It's this, this, and this. And this went on through the dinner. And by about dessert, they would ask him a question. He would just say, I think you should ask Wendy because she's obviously done her homework. And I'm like, that is right. And that is the difference between men and women. We do our homework, you spitball it, but you say it with such confidence, people believe you. So lesson learned, people.
There you go. Carolyn, what about you?
Well, it's when we got our last mortgage. I couldn't believe it. I was with the mortgage broker, and the mortgage broker didn't even look at me the whole time. I organized everything, our entire finances. And I looked at him and I said, hello, I'm over here. You actually want to be speaking to me because I organize everything, every nickel and every penny of everything we do. He goes, oh, okay, and continued to have a conversation with my husband. And I had to do it a second time. I said, excuse me, he doesn't understand anything that you're saying. That's the other thing I need you to know. So can you bring your attention this way and ask me the questions, because I will give you the answers. And he goes, all right. Talk about disrespect. I just was like, okay. And so it was not a joyful experience at all.
And kind of as our moderator, you want to just any parting thoughts?
Oh, I do.
You've kind of been.
I do. And I wrote copious notes here, but what I really want to bring across here is the fact that it's possible and that you have to dream big. So if you're thinking of being a first-time home buyer, connect with these women here. They know what they're talking about. And the truth is, there's lots of reasons why it won't work, but there's lots of incredible opportunities that are available that it can. And there's different areas that you can invest in for rental properties. Lots of wisdom was shared here, but I really feel that this impact from this discussion for the last hour and a half is to wake people up to realize that you want to invest in, building your own home, having that vision and direction, that you want to understand the statistics, the data, and everything that Nora shared with us. So you have the facts, because I think we can become more confident as women if we know the data, we know the information. And here's Wendy helping all these incredible women that are in different locations in their life. Maybe it's a younger person, maybe it's an older person, maybe it's someone that they have received an inheritance, but she will navigate. She knows what's going on and can provide the options. And for Valerie, financial literacy is absolutely critical. And if you are a mother, an aunt, a grandmother, you need to learn about that too, and pass that on as a living legacy to your children so they can feel more educated and more confident to buy that first time home. So there's lots of opportunity available to us. And it's a matter of just defining what matters most to you and having some conversations about it and building that dream of being a homeowner. Because like Valerie said, you can rent, but what's that going to get you? Absolutely nothing. To purchase a home is an investment, but also it can create generational abundance for your family, for your kids, for your kids' kids. So, I just want to thank you, Bobby. I think this has been an extraordinary, and all these ladies will say the same, us women, we have to really support each other, and the statistics are good. Nora said so. So, so just come together. Doing it alone is not good. And together we'll be better.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I really just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and especially our panel of experts, extremely busy women. So thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your insight tonight. It's been terrific. I also want to thank Jennifer Navarrete, our incredible digital event producer. And if there are any questions that we didn't answer, we will get to them and put them on Facebook and LinkedIn. And we would love your support. So please be sure to follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and sign up for our newsletters. So good night, everyone. And thank you. Have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic weekend. Yay. That's it. Okay. Jen?
You inspire me all, ladies.
So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
You're powerhouses, each one of you.
Yeah, this was very nice. I really do appreciate your time and your expertise, because this is great information. You just don't get it anywhere. You get in bits and pieces, but not all together. So thank you.
Thank you for including me.
Thank you for having me.
So question, I wonder if I could get each one of you to just say, hi, I'm Wendy, and I was a panelist at the Single Lady Estate celebration of, for the ECOA. And just so that we can use this, because we're going to take clips out of this and promote it on social. So different things that you all said, we'll do some social posts for it.
Sure.
So and I know you all were a little bit over time, so I definitely want to be respectful of your time. So let me start with Nora, and then I'll just go in the order here. Nora, Wendy, Valerie, Danushka, and then Carolyn, since we are our moderator here. So I'm going to pin you, Nora, if you don't mind. And
sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Nora Guerra, and I was a panel speaker for the ECOA anniversary celebration.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now I'm going to do, where are we? Wendy. Here we go.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Wendy Hooper Ross, and I was a panel speaker for the ECOA Anniversary Summit.
All right, beautiful. And then let me get to
all your voices sound so good. I love it.
All right, Valerie, when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Valerie Saunders, and I was a panel speaker for the ECOA celebration.
Thank you. And then Danushka.
Hi, I'm Danushka Nanekar, and I was a panelist at the ECO anniversary celebration.
I'm sorry, I pinned you a little late. Can you just redo that for me, please?
Sure. Hi, I'm Danushka Nanekar, and I was a panelist at the ECO anniversary celebration.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And then let me get Carolyn. Go ahead, Carolyn.
Hey. I am Carolyn Cooper McHewitt of Inspired Business and grandconnection.ca, and I had the honor of being the moderator at the ECOA anniversary celebration.
Beautiful. Y'all are amazing.
Thank you, ladies, so much. We really appreciate it. And I don't know what to say other than thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.